Hello and welcome to Shay Zasaa and a Zasaa Zooms In. Yet again, I've got my dear friend Karen with me, and today we're talking about something that I think is, well, I think everything is important to talk about. We need to talk about everything, but this one is one of my favorites. We are talking about strength and vulnerability. Yes. So, Karen, thank you. You're back again.
Thank you for having me back.
So excited.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, strength and vulnerability.
Yes,
Now, this is something that's very close to your heart.
it is.
Something that's very close to mine because I think that we often mistake vulnerability for weakness.
Yes.
And I don't think that vulnerability is weakness at all. So, what do you think vulnerability is?
I think that vulnerability is the birthplace of joy, the birthplace of creativity, the birthplace of connection, and I think it's really important. I think that strength and vulnerability are seen as very separate things, but I think that actually they're very intertwined, and sometimes your strength is your vulnerability and sometimes your vulnerability is your strength, and that they coexist and are very intermingled.
I honestly think that vulnerability is strength, and I think that we miss that because I guess it depends on how you define vulnerability. Because I think some people think that vulnerability is just like, breaking down in front of someone or telling someone something that so I mean, how would you define vulnerability?
I think vulnerability is being open to not being perfect.
Sorry, I was drinking when you said that. Say that again, please.
It's being open to not being perfect.
Being open to not being perfect. That's what vulnerability is. I love that description because I think that, so often that is a perfect definition, because I think so often that's why we won't be vulnerable, because we don't want to be seen to not be the best mother, whatever it is we're hiding from. I love that. Oh my gosh.
I think that in that vulnerability, you are being authentic. You are being authentic. You have to let go of the things that you think you are and allow yourself to be. And in that state of being authentic, you are then open to growing and to growth. And I think that's why it's one of the most important things.
Wow. Okay. So strength and vulnerability are, I guess, two sides of the same coin, in a sense, in the way you're describing it, which I actually agree with.
Yes.
I didn't tell you guys what Karen does. So Karen, I wish this was interactive. I would ask you to guess what Karen does. Now, if you missed one of my other episodes with Karen, you will not know that Karen is a mother of 7. Yes, she doesn't even look like it, but anyway, she's a mother of 7. And that's one of the things she does. She mothers. But professionally, what do you do, Karen?
I'm a contemporary sculptor.
What does that mean?
I make contemporary work, and my ethos is to make contemporary work about strength and vulnerability. And I use in that process, my materials that I use are very simple and unusual materials in the art world. So I think I use things like
Safety pins.
safety pins at the moment, yes. Human hair, mushroom
Wow.
bacteria.
Ooh.
Yeah. And my processes are all based in traditional craft. So sewing, weaving, cooking, all of the base traditional crafts. And that's where I begin my process.
Okay, so let me just take you back a bit, right?
Yeah.
And we'll come back to this strength and vulnerability.
Yeah.
You're a sculptor,
Yes.
but you were a painter.
Well,
Is it all in one, or how? Because I know now what you do is predominantly sculpting, and
Yes,
you do
it
your
is.
exhibitions and
Yeah.
everything. But before, I mean, you're an amazing artist.
Thank
in
you
terms of
very
your
much.
drawing, your paintings and stuff. So you don't do that so much anymore.
No, not because I can't. Although the one thing I do find about drawing and painting is you do need to keep your hand in and practice in order to be good. But my passion lies in sculpting, And I've learned many things through sculpting about myself. And I think that was initially my starting point. Was I was trying to understand myself, and I was trying to understand my own identity. But I hope that through the process of my work now, I am less myopic, and that I'm trying to engage and connect with people through the work. So my process has been very much a learning process all the way. I'm still learning. I have found that what I love to do is make big contemporary statements. Last year I was fortunate enough to exhibit at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Perpignan, which the museum is called Assentement de Centre.
What's your French like now? Is it she spends a lot of time in France.
Yeah, Centre de Centre du Monde is the name of the gallery where I was. And I created a piece of work, a large-scale piece of work with 80,000 safety pins that was based on Roman Barthes' book about love and relationships, and the internal monologue that you have with yourself about a relationship. And this piece was about the breakdown of a relationship. And something happened while I was at the gallery which will stay with me for the rest of my life. A lady came in. So the piece is, it spirals down in a portrait falling out of love, and underneath is a very large mirror. So as a voyeur, you can look into the mirror and see the reverse process, so you see yourself falling back in love. I had a conversation with this lady, an older lady, and she said, "Tell me about the work." I told her about the process and falling back into love, and she said, "Oh, that never happened to me." And so I said, "Tell me about yourself." And she said, "Oh, my husband was the love of my life, and then after he died, I was very sad for a long time. I went back to college herself and studied art history, and now she goes around to lots of galleries, and she really loves her life." And I said, "So perhaps you fell back in love with yourself."
Oh, with yourself.
With
Okay.
yourself. And she grabbed me by the arm and she said, "I think I did." And she cried. And I was so touched by that experience that I have now clarified for myself that that's what I want to do with my work. I want to be able to touch people's hearts.
Yeah, and I think it's so nice when you get the feedback, because sometimes, that might be happening all over the place, but you're not there to have the conversation to know that that's what's happening.
That's not the only feedback you get. You get lots of other feedback, not quite so nice.
But it's funny because I saw it, and for me, I'm not I don't understand like that, but just the mere fact that you used, how many did you say?
80,000 on that.
80,000 safety pins. Yeah. That was what was tripping me, more so than the story behind it. Because I was just like, 80,000 safety pins. And I remember what were you doing in your house one day? You were using some other funny, like you said, you used normal material, something, I can't remember what it was you were doing. And I was like, what did you do? It was something, pasta. Did you use pasta for something? I told you, so there was something you did it was something very basic. And I was like, what made you think to use that? So that I know that you do use ordinary everyday stuff, but it's interesting because the story you just told about the safety pin, I didn't know about the safety pin sculpture. I just thought it was a safety. I thought it was about the safety pins, not the falling back out of love.
Well, you see, the safety pin was a metaphor for strength and vulnerability, because the safety pin is something that we associate with strength and holding things together, but actually it's a sharp piece of metal that you poke holes with something, and those holes don't get repaired when you take the safety pin out. And actually, if it breaks, it's a really sharp and dangerous piece of material.
Okay, so that is crazy. So when you choose your pieces of material that you use for your strength and vulnerability, do you think about it like how you adjust it? So that's how. So tell me, how does human hair? How does that? Is that a strength and vulnerability one or not?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's also about strength and vulnerability in identity and where you come from. Because I made portraits from people out of their own hair, and that contains and they were really fine, delicate portraits, but they were built out of the DNA of their families.
I don't think I've seen that one. I have to go and look. Anyway, Karen's Instagram handle is at the bottom, so please visit her Instagram page to see what she gets up to. She has lots of exhibitions, lots of. You're coming out in an article soon, aren't you?
Yeah, in August I'm being printed in the Create magazine, and I have in June 2 exhibitions in France, one in Tuire and one in Surrey.
So you're not
But
exhibiting in London.
I wanted to just touch on this lady had gone through an experience of re-emergence
Yes.
after
yes.
the death of her husband. It was
Yeah.
so important to her to have done that and reconnected with life.
Yeah. Wow. Strength and vulnerability. Okay. So, yes, strength and, yeah, because I keep saying love and vulnerability by mistake, but yeah, strength and vulnerability. Okay. So, I think, like you said, that I honestly feel like no relationship is real, or maybe that's a bit hard, but I feel like vulnerability is a key part of a successful relationship. Should I put it like that? Or I don't even like saying successful relationship, because what does that mean?
Connection, perhaps.
yeah,
It's a key part of connecting is to be authentic. To be authentic, you have to let go of your self-image
Yeah.
and really connect with who you are, actually who you are.
Okay, so practically,
Yes.
let's be practical now. So I want to be authentic. I'm not authentic. What steps would I take to become, or to start heading down the thing of vulnerability? Is it just about, what was your definition again? I love that definition. What was your definition? Accepting that you're not
Perfect.
So that was your accept. So would it just be that in certain situations, just say, no, well, I'm not perfect? How would I go about starting the journey to vulnerability?
It's not about
stroke
falling
authentic?
about crying and being
Because I
all
think that's what a lot of people
broken
think it is.
all of the time. But I think it opens, if you are vulnerable in the way that if you ask questions about the things you don't know, ask questions about the things you want to know about, that vulnerability opens you up to self-learning and growth.
And I think growth is, I feel, and I say this all the time, that if we're not learning and we're not growing, then we might as well be dead. I feel like, you should be learning every day. It doesn't mean going
Yes.
back to school traditionally or anything like that,
Yeah.
but every day you must be learning something new, and from that you should be growing.
But if you think you know everything, then you're not going to learn, are you? So you have to kind of understand that there is a vulnerability in all of us, and I think it creates a sense of empathy with people. I think that if you feel that you have to be the strong person all the time, it alienates you from everything, and you become alone, and that's a difficult place to be, I think.
But what about if you feel like, it's not so much that you feel like you have to be, it's like you have to be the strong person all the time.
Yes.
What if you find yourself in a situation where you don't really have it, nobody else is being strong, so you have to be strong? Does that alienate you?
I think that the strongest people break the hardest.
What does that mean?
Well, because if you always feel like you have to be strong and you don't have friends or
The
people
support,
that you
yeah.
can, the support system that we've talked about so many times before, if you don't have that and you feel that you are the only person that can do the job, you are the only one, I think that when you break, you will shatter.
Whoa.
That's my experience.
Well, no, I think you're right. I mean, so note to self, so you will literally, you can't, and I think it comes back to that thing about community we were talking about.
Yes.
And how
Yes.
we have to understand, and I always say this thing, that when, because obviously I'm a Christian and I believe that God created us. When God created us, he created us to be part of community. Just didn't create just one. You know what I mean? The whole idea is that we are supposed to live together. No man is an island. I think that's what they say. I don't know where that comes from. But anyway, I don't think it's biblical, but it doesn't matter. That no man is an island, and you need to survive, to thrive, to everything. You need community, and I think sometimes that thing of I can do it myself. It's and it's so hard because it's finding the balance, isn't it, Karen? Because like here you are saying you are enough, you are, I'm this, but then you have to find the balance between being confident, loving yourself and whatnot, and actually appreciating that you have to be part of community and you cannot do it by yourself. So while you are enough, you still need the support. How do you find that balance? Because one of the things I was always, sorry, I know you're about to talk and I'm cutting you off. One of the things I was always like really concerned about with my daughters was giving them the confidence, the self-esteem to know that they're good enough and they don't, and again, I always pick on my daughters, but just because I'm female and I feel like girls suffer more in this area. But I was like, but then it got to a point where one of my daughters, I said to her father, I said, do you think we need to bring her back down to earth? Because she took it in its full, fullness. And we decided not to because we said life will bring her down to earth. But it's that thing of, because you don't want a pompous, arrogant, just because I know that I'm valuable and I know that I'm enough, but you still don't want to be pompous and arrogant and rude.
I think that it goes back to one of the other blogs that we've done about parenting.
Yeah.
In that you can't parent alone. It's too difficult to parent alone, and it's not healthy to parent alone. And I'm not suggesting that you have to parent with a partner, but you need a community of people around you with different perspectives, with different views, and that will bring a sense of balance, I think, to the child when they have more than one opinion to deal with, to be exposed
I don't know, in Africa, we say it takes a village to raise. Is that an English thing? I don't know if it's English.
I think it's true.
It takes a village to raise a child.
Does.
Yeah, because it's like, and literally that's what it is. But unfortunately, in my understanding of that statement, certainly back in Africa, it takes a village of women to raise a child, which I don't think is right. I think, yes, the women bring a lot to it, but I think it should be an entire village of everything.
I probably experienced that for the first time when we were at school with our children together.
Our little village.
Yeah, because our children, there was a group of us, and our children bonded really tightly. And the mothers and the fathers, we all became the village and looked after each other's kids. And I think that was my first experience of having community and having that kind of help. And the joy that we experienced as groups, when I look back at the days that we had together, were amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy because and it's so funny because I still talk about it now, that my kids look at all those kids as their cousins.
Yes.
They just think that's family. Yeah. So that's not even friendship anymore. It's family. They may not speak, they may not, but that's
true about my kids.
You know what I mean? That's my family there somewhere, And it's, I guess also, well, actually, I'm not sure that I was going to say it helps that the parents are friends, but really it doesn't, because we put into them what they've already got it. Yes. And then whether we stayed friends or not, they've got their relationship, they have their own thing. So but I think it's, I just think that, have we gone off? What are we talking about? Strength and vulnerability. What are we talking about?
I don't think so. I think we are still on topic in that the vulnerability of parenting became a strength when we got together as a community.
Yeah.
And I think that was our strength, in that we could, as mothers, be vulnerable with each other, knowing it was a safe space.
Yeah, but I think, you're right. We're still on topic. It doesn't matter if we're off topic anyway, because on Zasaa we're always going off topic. But we are still on topic because we're talking about the community, having a community, and that being, because, when we say that you're being vulnerable, that means you're opening yourself up to the fact that you're going to, so the community thing.
And it needs to be in a safe space. You need to be able to be vulnerable. You need to feel that you're safe.
Yeah, and you see, that's another topic entirely, because again, how do you know you're safe? Sometimes you can be vulnerable and find out you weren't safe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you don't necessarily know. I guess it's a bit of trial and error, maybe gut feeling and type of stuff. And
Courage.
then also courage, yes, I was going to say. And then also it's also your background. If you're coming from a place that's not safe, you're probably like, I remember talking to a friend of mine ages ago where his behavior was a bit dodgy. And I kept thinking, why is he behaving like this? So one day I challenged him and he said to me, immediately he knew what it was, but he didn't realize it was evident to other people. And he said to me, he said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So I said, what? He said, I come from a polygamous family. So basically he had come from a family where there were many wives. And he was just one of the children of one of the wives. And so there's already within his family, certainly, and I think it's probably true of a lot of polygamous families, there was a suspicion, a fear, tension. Because it's like this one's child might want to, I don't know, there was just that, so that came out in the way he was behaving, but he didn't realize that because he's coming from a place of not trusting anyone, not knowing who is for him, who not know, it came out in some of the, so it also depends on where you're coming from. So what might be a natural safe space to some people, if you're coming from a place of don't trust anyone because they're out to get you or whatever, you're not going to, it will take you a while to feel safe. You probably have to, you know what I mean? So I think it's, that safe space thing is, and I hate it when you go, when you go to this and they say, this is a safe space. As soon as people say this is a safe space, I think, it makes me very suspicious. Like, really? Is it really?
Yeah. If you have to say it, it's probably not.
If you have to say it, it's probably not. I mean, and I understand why they do it, because what they're saying is, everything here is confidential, etc. But again, you have no control over that. So I think I like the way ours worked because it was organic in the sense that, and then I guess you put your toe in the water, then you put your foot, then you put your ankle, you know what I mean, before you put your leg in, and then you were like, okay. Like with any relationship, I guess you kind of work out, maybe you're a little bit skeptical at the beginning before you then know that, okay, this is safe.
I mean, our group were very diverse women, and
I never forget the speech you gave at Catherine's, at Frankie's funeral, and when you described, I wish, in fact, I need that. The way you described the women, when you were like, ready, yeah, it was crazy, yes. But yeah, we were diverse, and again, you see, that's the thing. It didn't matter that we weren't coming from the same background, same religion, same beliefs, whatever. We literally found something that we could have community with. And I think that's so key, because I think sometimes people say, oh, well, she's from a different country, or she's not a Christian, or I don't understand, she was brought up differently. We put barriers where they don't necessarily need to be. So I understand that these things are important to you, but I don't think there should be a barrier.
I think that it's important to not be living in a bubble, because I think that it's outside of that bubble that we grow.
Oh, God, you're dropping gems. So you said vulnerability. Did you hear what she said? Can you see why I was desperate to get her on? So you said vulnerability is being prepared to show that you are not perfect. Is that vulnerability is being prepared to show that you're not perfect. Are you prepared to show that you're not perfect? Are you prepared to actually be who you are? To admit that you can't do everything right, that sometimes you get things wrong, that you don't understand certain things, that you don't believe in certain things, that, just whatever. Are you prepared to be vulnerable? Are you prepared to not be perfect? Because we're not perfect. Let's face it, we're not perfect. We're special. We're perfect the way we are, in the sense that we are enough, but we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. So
I think that if you're going to aspire to be perfect, it's always going to be a failure, and that's
because
never going to be a good place to be, is it?
Yeah. And it's funny because a friend of mine said to me once, I can't remember what it was, there was something I was supposed to be doing and I was dilly-dallying, and she said, you need to stop trying to do it perfectly. Just do it. Just start. You know what I mean? Because if not, you're never going to start, because you're never going to do it perfectly. So just start, and then change things, develop, become whatever, but don't try and start perfect, because it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. So that's it. What was the second gem you dropped just now? What did you say just now?
I don't know.
What did you say? Oh my gosh, I can't remember what she said. You see, she's taken me off track, but she dropped another gem a minute ago. Oh, Karen, what did you say?
I don't know. I just talk.
Well, I hope you can remember. Maybe you can rewind. can't remember. But I think, so what we're saying is that it's important to be vulnerable.
It's
in fact, it's
a quality of leadership to be able to be vulnerable. It is a quality of leadership.
another gem that she just drops.
Yeah, and you can, in that space, you can be creative, because if you're not prepared to fail, then you will never step outside of that safety
That's what you
zone.
said. She said in the bubble. What did you say? You said, yes, we shouldn't stay in a bubble, because if we stay in a bubble, it's outside of the bubble that we grow. That's what you said.
Okay.
So 3 things. Being vulnerable is about being prepared not to be perfect. It's important that we don't stay in a bubble, because it's outside of the bubble that we grow. Yes, the bubble is safe. Yes, the bubble is comfortable, but it's outside of the bubble that we grow. And vulnerability is a key something of leadership. What do you say?
Yeah, key
a
quality.
key quality of leadership. So I'm throwing it all back there at you. Are you vulnerable? That's it. Follow us on YouTube. Please follow Karen on her Instagram channel and see what she's up to.